Sir James Dyson, new inventions across both vacuums and purifiers announced in the last week. How much of a step change is this in your development?
Well, I think it's really interesting because, I mean, in both cases, in the case of the vacuum cleaners, at the moment when you vacuum, you can see, thanks to our clear bin, another of our inventions, what you picked up, but you don't know what you left behind because, you know, the human eye can't see what's on the floor, the very fine dust on the floor. And our laser picks all that up by putting across that very sharp sheet of laser light wrapping around each of the tiny dust particles. You can really see them in 3 dimensions. So you can see them before you pick them up, and then you can see afterwards that they're gone. And even better than that, as it goes up, the machine counts and sizes those dust particles. So you know how many millions you picked up at each of the various sizes. I mean, I personally find this very fascinating because when I was developing the cyclonic action about 20 years ago, I went to the United States to buy a particle counting and sizing machine, which cost about $350,000, which I just couldn't afford. But now we're putting that technology actually into each of our vacuum cleaners.
Now, if you could dream about a home of the future, Sir James, what would it be like?
Oh, well, now that's going to be really interesting, but certainly things will be connected, things will anticipate rather than you having to react to situations, whether it's a pollution incident, poor air quality, dust in your home. Our robots will go around and tell you all sorts of things that you don't know at the moment and warn you in advance. Appliances will tell you before they go wrong. Hopefully they won't go wrong, but they'll tell you before they do, or they'll tell you that they need a bit of maintenance, whatever it is. And then I think that there's all sorts of things they can tell you about your health and about what is causing damage in the home to it no longer being a healthy home. So I think that apart from that, it's quite difficult to speculate. But and I think a lot of robotics. We're investing a huge amount in robotics. I think a lot of things will be automated that we have to do at the moment.
So how do you approach a problem? Is it by identifying customer frustration or customer pain points?
Yes, I mean, often customers don't see them as pain points. So, for example, right at the beginning when we got rid of the bag, and your bags are non-biodegradable, they're actually plastic bags, and they cause the clogging and loss of suction. No one was actually complaining about paper bags or bags in vacuum cleaners, but we saw them as a real Achilles heel of a vacuum cleaner. So we decided to develop, or I decided to develop cyclonic action to overcome the need for a bag and to have no loss of suction. So sometimes there are things that, well, and for example, when I went into battery vacuum cleaners, make a big push in that, people weren't actually complaining about unplugging and plugging a vacuum cleaner and the nuisance of the cord and this sort of long hose that you have on your barrel vacuum cleaners. People weren't really complaining about them, but we saw them as a big problem.
And what about the business itself, the Dyson Group, going through COVID in the last 12 months? How did you manage?
Well, it was very interesting. I mean, we're very strong in China and Asia, and we saw in January what was happening, January and February. Factories are shutting down, supplies are being cut off, shops are being shut, people were stopping buying, and retailers were not ordering for stock. So we had a crisis meeting in Paris and completely changed how we were going to do things. I mean, the world had been going direct anyway, online, buying online. And we knew that this would just accelerate that, so we had to concentrate our business as an online business. So that was a kind of positive thing of the COVID crisis. The unfortunate, really unfortunate thing, apart from the deaths and the illnesses that people have had, has been that people have been working from home, and that's not a good thing, particularly in a creative business. But I think it's not a good thing anyway. I'm violently against it.
You didn't go for the government furlough scheme, didn't take any taxpayer money, but you did have to let go about 900 employees, 600 in Britain. Was that on the retail side?
Well, no, they were really the old way of trading. I mean, in the past, we've sold to retailers who've then sold to the public. Well, it was quite obvious during COVID that retailers are going to be shut. So we're selling direct. and the world is going direct anyway. That, you know, they might go back a little bit towards shops, but shops are not the force they used to be. In fact, they're all shutting down. A lot of them are going bust. So we had a lot of staff directed towards supplying retailers, and it's those staff that have largely gone because we do things differently now. The company is a very different company as a result of COVID.
And so will these jobs come back?
No, they won't, but what will happen is that we're creating a different type of job, a job where we speak direct with our customers, which is welcome. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to be able to do. And we're asking people to buy direct from the maker, because why would you buy from an e-tailer, an Amazon or someone like that, when you can buy direct from the manufacturer and have a direct relationship with the manufacturer? Because traditionally, if we sold through Amazon or retailers, we don't know who our customers are. And that's really not a good thing. It's much better to know who you sold to and build a direct relationship, particularly as we go more and more connected.
Do you see much value in a free trade agreement with Australia?
Well, yes, completely. I mean, I don't see why there should be any trade barriers at all. People in Britain should be able to enjoy Australian wine and Australian meat in the same way that we can enjoy European wine or even our own wine. Why not?
Sir James, so interesting to get those views of yours. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Very good to speak to you. Speak to you again soon.